What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Big time week, and I mean big. It is time for the Big Ten. We are here to talk one of the two main conferences in college football that everybody wants to chat, especially during the offseason. We're getting tired of the narratives and all the different stories coming out. I mean, we're here. Fall camp has started. Everything's in the swing. We can taste it. It's so close, 17 days away. Is that to week 0, Jake, or is that to week 1?
That's week 0. That's when college football starts around here. I know there's some big media personalities that like to argue that. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure college football starts when the first college football game starts. Pretty sure that's how that works. So
I would agree. I'm just double checking. Don't come at my head.
No, it's not you. I'm sorry. I needed to vent that out. I did. Right. I really did. Not towards you. I promise.
There's a lot of people be like, it doesn't start till week 1. Why? Why does it have to wait? Why do we have to wait?
There's a guy out there who, I thought used to be for the sport and just continues to just turn me wrong that he's just not as for the sport as I thought he used to be. But we'll leave that up in the air and I'll let you make guesses. So.
With that, I'm joined alongside my wonderfully entertained co-host. I mean, just in great moods, Jake and JP. We are here to preview the Big Ten Conference. We have previewed every conference in college football besides the Big Ten and the SEC, which we will do next week. So it's a big-time week. We want to give a special shout-out to you for listening. If it's your first time, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you being here more than you know. And before we even started the show, we had a great visitor hop in the chat, 9:30 this morning, and throw in $10 at us with the super chat. Shout out GA. He is ready for the Big Ten preview. One of the best fans in podcasting and college football because he cheers for Nebraska. So shout out GA. We love you. Thank you for the super chat. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? JP, you ready to break down Big Ten football? I mean, you got the Hawks shirt on. You ready to talk about them?
Yep, absolutely. I am going to sit in the back seat when we talk Hawks and just let everybody else kind of do their preview side of it, get a little outside because we have our fan perspective, right? And you hear enough of me talk about them and other people we have on. But I think when you're looking at the Big Ten, there's still this battle just between the two big conferences. SEC just was able to put out a Netflix series. Maybe the Big Ten gets the next one, and then maybe the Big 12 gets the next one after that. What if we just made that last chance U type where we're just switching schools and conferences? It'd be a lot more entertaining. But, it was a good watch, and into the Big Ten we go with debatably 3, possibly 4 of the best teams in the country in it.
All right, we'll get into that. Jake, what do you think? I mean, you're a Big 12 guy. This is the Big Ten. Somehow more teams, less team on the conference name. How are you feeling about the Big Ten this year?
The Big Ten is obviously one of the two big brands in college football. There's no argument from me there. Got you're right, probably 3 of the best teams in college football that we will probably touch on a ton tonight. Here's my issue. And as you can tell, I'm just in a great mood when covering this conference. It's the back 6, roughly the back 6, like reading up on some of these teams that try to carry the water or think they're carrying the water for the conference. And it's just, there are some really poor and bleak, boring teams at the bottom 6. Now, I'm for all 136 around here. So I'm not going to, point out one of those 6 teams. I'll let you again make a guess of who I'm referring to, but I'm sure we'll touch on all, if not most of those 6 I just think it's the bottom it's pretty low for me.
Yeah, well, when we throw 18 teams in a conference, it gets tough to, know what I mean? Like somebody's got to be the bottom.
But you say the Big Ten, the SEC, like they are on the same level playing field. No, it's like your top 5 of the Big Ten. But let's be real here. I mean, there's the bottom 6 teams would probably not win a game outside of Mississippi State in the SEC.
All right, let's save it for the show, fellas. Let's tell the people what we're going to break it down. We've done the conference previews differently for the Power 4. If you go back to our G5 previews, if you have a G5 de facto team or fandom you follow, that's available. Go out, check out their individual team preview. We went team by team there. We're doing a little bit more generalized look. It's just tough with 18 teams like JP mentioned. But tonight we're going to go through top headlines for the conference going into 2025. Then we will look at title favorites, who's going to win the Big Ten. Then we'll go coaches under the most pressure. Then we're going to most intriguing team, best long shot team, and then we will go a wild card team. After that, we'll tell you some players, some games on the schedule to look out for. And then to round it out, we'll give you our Big Ten season predictions. That is Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, the conference title game, who's going to win it, maybe an over-under win total, and a hot take if we've got it. So we got a lot to get into, a lot of teams to discuss tonight. Let's kick it off with headlines in the Big Ten in 2025. We'll go down the line. Let's start with Jake. Jake, give us a headline for this conference, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, we talked about the Big Ten probably having three of the best teams in college football, and it starts over in Happy Valley. I think if James Franklin beats Ohio State, makes the college football playoff, but doesn't win the national championship, is that still a successful season for Nittany Lion fans? It'd be up for debate. I hear a lot of, national title or bust throughout just the national perspective of things, honestly. And I think that's a little unfair because isn't the guy like 1-12 versus Michigan and Ohio State? So, and obviously, like, credit to them for making the semifinal last year in the college football playoff, but you also ran into SMU and Boise State. How about we just worry about beating Oregon when they come to town this, I think it's in September. Why don't we worry about beating Ohio State in the regular season? Maybe, and obviously probably winning the Big Ten title if you take care of those things instead of just this national title or bust thing surrounding James Franklin this year. I think is unfair, but it's a question to be asked.
It's definitely a good question. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how the playoffs go. Because let's say they do beat Ohio State in the regular season. They make it to the college football playoff. They don't draw Ohio State, which they most likely won't. But then they run into them, or Ohio State's on the other side of the bracket, and they lose to somebody who they feel is inferior, and Ohio State moves further on the college football playoff than Penn State does. Then I think they get into that, like, well, he did the one thing, but then Ohio State ends up winning it anyway. We beat that team. We should have won the national title. Like, what's wrong with this team? And then you create other narratives. So I think it depends on what Ohio State does past that loss if it gets to that point. But I do think you're right. They're asking for a little much on what they're doing. I mean, if they beat Ohio State, it's a big step. You already made the college football playoff. You got to go both of them. But it's hard to be like if you do that and make the playoff, but you don't maybe win the national
one thing
title.
at a time.
Yeah. Like you are taking steps forward. It's very slowly, but it beats the hell out of losing to Michigan once and not getting the Big Ten bid at all like you've done the last 6 years before the 12-team playoff. So tough look for Penn State fans. JP, your thoughts?
I would just say if we're trading wins and losses, if for a national title, like you better be able to stomach losing to Ohio State in the regular season if that gives you a national title on the back end. And then there should be no complaints anymore, right? Maybe it's just I just don't think you can do it. Like Ohio State doesn't care. Like they don't want to lose to Michigan, but they'll take that national title every time if that's a trade-off.
I thought about this the other day, and clearly Ohio State would take the national title, like you said, JP. But I also thought about compare the seasons between Ohio State and Oregon last year. And this is the problem the 12-team playoff brings to the table is that these teams can get in and run the table. And now Ohio State has a quote-unquote more successful season than Oregon did last year because they made the playoff. They won the national title in this 12-team era. But look what Oregon had as their resume last year. They beat Michigan. They beat Ohio State. They won the Big Ten title, and they beat Penn State. They went 14-0, the only team in the regular season to do so. And then all of a sudden, they got caught on the wrong foot against a hot Ohio State team, and now it's like, yeah, Oregon had the worst season than Ohio State had a better season. It's like, or did Ohio State just have a hotter 3 weeks? Something to.
That's the problem with when you start expanding the playoff more and more, right? It becomes what you did in the playoff overshadows in those 12 games in the regular season. And this is a regular season sport, and it needs to consistently be that, and it needs to stay that way forever. Like that's just how it operates, right? Because if we start taking that out of there, then Rutgers playing Washington and USC playing Illinois on a random Saturday, traditionally on most years isn't going to mean anything to anybody because it doesn't have playoff implications, which beats the entire purpose of collegiate athletics and the entire importance of college football. So Oregon had a great year. Are they puzzled? Yeah, I think they just ran into a grind. Like they just ran into an axe. Like there's nothing you could have done in that situation. As we know, nobody could do anything. We can say Notre Dame got close, but Notre Dame was getting pounded before there was even a shot to get back in that game. So I think everybody just ran into to Ohio State at their absolute best, and we thought they were the best team in the country to start with anyway. So you have to take the game for what it is. You have to respect what the regular season is and then go into the national title or into the playoff as something else, right? Like if you are one of those big brands like an Ohio State, yes, it matters what you do in those spots. But if you were Oregon, like you're going to, would you like, how much of that would you trade? Like, would you rather?
Yeah. Like last year, you're given that season.
Yeah.
You're given that season an A, like out of an A+ rating, like you're giving it an A at the least.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's not much to take away from like negatively in my mind for Penn State last season. I said going into last year, was there like a program out there that had a little bit more pep in their step going into the 12-team playoff era? Because they couldn't get over that hump, but they were good enough to prove something maybe past just the one school that was end up winning the national title. I mean, we're talking about a $30 million roster. Now they have the opportunity to do that. If you're consistently doing that, it's going to happen eventually, but you can't take it all at once. I don't think the national title or bust thing is warranted at all. So I like that headline, Jake. Good one. Let's move it over to JP. JP, give us your headline for the Big Ten Conference this season.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that these are coming more of questions than they are headlines. And so my creative writing abilities kind of faltered a little bit. But,
yep.
Can the middle of the conference take the next step? That's my question, right? And I wrote down this just kind of on the side. The next step for this conference is for the middle of the pack to be perceived as good or better than the SEC's middle of the pack. That is the next step for the Big Ten. Is that possible this year to take another step at that? I honestly think last year it happened. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think perceptually, like it was just as good. Now it has to happen multiple years, year over year. Like you have to have teams. I don't want to say Indiana because I still like trying to figure Indiana out a little bit, but I'm going to say Nebraska, a Washington, a USC, an Iowa, a Michigan, like Minnesota, even throw them in there. Michigan State. Those teams need to get better and create a stronger middle of the pack in the Big Ten. Like, yes, they're going to cannibalize themselves the same they do in the SEC, but for those teams to get better, those programs to get better and better, it needs to be, and I guess I don't know how they would even become to be perceived, because if they're not playing non-con against each other, it's just going to consistently become, oh, well, you know, there's a sticker here, that's why I'm better than you, or there's a sticker there, that's why I'm better than you. So until these teams play each other in some form, and apparently bowl games don't matter anymore, someone told me out there in the world, that I can't circle Michigan beating an Alabama team last year, and I can't circle Illinois beating a South Carolina team last year, even though both teams, the guys kind of had just about everybody on them.
Yeah.
I can't circle those anymore. So I don't know what the measuring stick is anymore, but that is the next step for the conference.
I like that. I mean, you got to look at last year and even the chances that we have for this year for even those brands that you named to take even further of a step forward, almost make it not to the level of a Big 12, I wouldn't put it, but closer. I mean, Jonathan Smith over at Michigan State in year 2, if they can get a jump and get back bowl eligible, start playing like those D'Antonio days where they were unbelievable. I mean, then we really start getting more names in the top of the mix, and it doesn't become so top heavy, because it's been top heavy. I mean, it's those 4 main brands, and you haven't had brands like Nebraska, who would typically be towards that area, anywhere near it for the last decade. So, yeah, I think that it would be huge for the conference to have those middle of the pack teams to take another step forward in 2025. I love it. And as a fan, I pray for it. So what do you think, Jake? As the outsider of the conference, is your perception changing on the middle of the pack headed into this season?
No. I think right now they're still behind the SEC. And I kind of explained why I think that, the bottom 6 of this conference to me is it's poor.
It's
like,
such
I don't
a
know.
fall off.
I don't even know if like those 6 teams could get into the Big 12 and win 7 or 8 games. Like, I doubt it. I really think that. I'm worried.
Just so we clarify here, if we're going off Athlon's bottom 6 in this conference,
let's get this out of the way. He's going to reference it more. Jake, give us the bottom 6.
Yeah.
What are the brands?
So Purdue, Maryland, probably at this point. Let me pull up my 6. I would say Northwestern, obviously. Rutgers, I'm a little, good preview. JP, shout out to your Iowa fan perspective. I'm getting a little more respect on Rutgers. Like, it's coming around. UCLA at this point, we'll see what they are. I think they're searching for an identity, so they're in that bottom 6. And then
need one more.
I would probably Michigan State at this point. I know they have Childs and everything, but like, we'll talk about them. They got a lot of other question marks on that football team that I'm like, are they going to get 6 wins? And am I missing somebody? I could be missing somebody too that
Well, you
I
said
named
6, so I was just giving you 6.
Sure. And I could even
Did
pull
you
it
say
up.
Northwestern?
So I did. So yeah,
you could
like
probably
those
wiggle
6.
in maybe Minnesota.
I'm
Maybe.
sorry,
I think
Minnesota's
Minnesota.
not winning only 3 games in the Big 12.
No, yeah,
They're
yeah. They'd win 7, 8 probably.
Total?
This year with freshman quarterback Drake Lindsay, I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. Let me ask this though. This is what I thought about. Like, is the Big Ten in trouble if we don't get another one of your teams, Nebraska, Ohio, or Iowa, Illinois, Indiana? Like, if we don't get any of these 4 teams, or maybe somebody else into the Big Ten title game, like, are we in trouble for like this top heaviness to kind of just be, that's what the Big Ten is going to be known for? Like, they're always going to be that top 2 brand, but it's always like, as a Big 12 fan, I'll be like, okay, so Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, and like, I'm just gonna be like, and I don't know what else you get. So the Big Ten, I feel like, is in trouble of just getting that sticker put on them every single year if they don't have a team that finally runs the table here.
Here's the difference within, but comparing that to the SEC and the Big Ten, though. If Texas loses to A&M last year, are we saying that? Because it's going to be Georgia, Texas, Alabama, LSU, right? Like, we can do the same thing with that conference. The difference is that A&M is perceived as a much bigger brand. It's perceived as so much better than everything the Big Ten could offer at the same level. And so that's kind of how we take it. But at the same time, with these size of conferences, you're only at the mercy of a tiebreaker pretty much every year. So we weren't far from Indiana punching their ticket. We weren't far from, Iowa a couple years, again, like only 1 year
Big Ten West. So that's why we got to see this non-division thing play out a couple of years, because I think the Big Ten could be in trouble if they can't get one of those outside 4 teams into the Big Ten title game with this no division rule now.
Yeah, and it's so hard because it felt like we were going to get closer to a leveler playing field when you add brands like a USC and a Washington, who at that time during the announcement
there's still time.
Like, yeah, no, and they're probably going to eventually, but like Washington was playing in the national title 2.5 years ago, everybody. And then USC, and they haven't really lived up to that. So like, I think you'll get a better top half, but I think what JP said earlier is the most important part. Like, when you get to 18 teams, like the bottom 6, I mean, you still have 12 quality football teams. It sounds like, oh, there's still really 6 terrible programs, but like those programs excel in other parts. Like, it's not just a football thing, like Maryland's a great baseball school. Rutgers has competed in, what did he say on the show? JP, he's talking about men's soccer or something like that. He called them prima donnas.
Sports. They have a lot of, they have a lot of Olympic sports they like.
Maryland, I think, is like a dominant lacrosse program. Like, I think there's other weird things that they're offering something for the Big Ten, but it just doesn't matter for the school.
The bottom 6
teams
in the conference, according to Athlon, are all very good basketball programs. Purdue, Maryland, Northwestern is ish, but solid. UCLA, Michigan State, Wisconsin. Not that we're making this a basketball show. I'm just saying it's kind of funny how that worked out.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. But that is a good question, and we got the 6 teams out of the way. So if he references that, just know what teams and brands he's talking about.
I'm throwing you under the bus again.
You throwing me under the bus?
No, I'm throwing one of those 6 teams.
Yeah, no, I don't think nobody disagreed with you there. I mean, honestly, Jay Bird came in and said, or Wisconsin. Would you put Wisconsin on the conversation?
They're
more than
they're close.
Okay. All right. That's interesting with where they're at. It's hard to argue that, but let's move on to mine. My headline, I also am getting terrible at the creative writing aspect, JP, and I formed it more as a question, but let me see if I can form it into a headline. Does 2025 shape Oregon's future with Dan Lanning more than we think? And I'm talking about the quarterback position, because if you look at what Oregon did last year and how they ran the table, and honestly, outside of the Ohio State game, had their way with majority of opponents, other than a weird first half at Wisconsin and things like that. But he did it with a quarterback that had a 25-year-old quarterback with a massive amount of experience. Does Moore this year offer an answer for Lanning to be like, hey, am I going to go the Notre Dame way about it and go get a Sam Hartman, Riley Leonard, and that's how I'm going to compete year over year because I'm Oregon and I have the pockets to do so? Or as good of a recruiter as I am in Dan Lanning, can I play more of a Dabo route and develop my own and have a couple of years maybe where we're not competing with Ohio State for the Big Ten title? I just think it's worth a talk because nobody's talking about Oregon. It feels like for a team that won the Big Ten last year and was undefeated and the number one overall seed in the college football playoff, there's not a lot of conversation in the preseason around Oregon football this year. It's super weird. So what are they going to look like going forward? Do you think it'll be a high school route? Do you think he'll go back to the transfer route? I think a lot of it depends on Dante Moore. So what do you think, JP?
I think if it's next year, let's just say like Dante Moore is all right. Like he's not groundbreaking. He's just all right. I think it just flips to Novosad. And then maybe they go get a backup like a Mikey Keene, like Michigan did. Go get you a guy like I'm trying to think like off the top of my head, I'm blanking on all the guys that moved to be backups basically, but there's plenty of them out there, serviceable guys. I think it just flips to Novosad and we go from there. I think he's very much set in how he wants to handle the portal. It's big additions, impact guys right away, but this is foundationally a high school recruiting program.
Yeah, and it's a tough balance to make, especially when you're trying to stay at the top of conferences like this. So what do you think?
If you whiff on a class, it feels like you have to go heavy into the portal.
Yeah, you have to.
It's a good question. But I think the days of getting your Bo Nix, your Cam Wards out of the portal, your Shadir Sanders, if you want to throw that in there, like I think those days are over as far as like first round draft pick quarterbacks out in the portal. I just don't know if I really see that unless maybe you get a Lagway if Napier gets fired kind of thing. But I think those will be ever few and far between. So it's going to have to be, trusting your guys, trusting your recruiting. And, we'll see. Moore wasn't originally an Oregon guy before he went to UCLA. So this is kind of like a part of Dan Lanning's recruiting tree. And we'll see though. I think he'll figure it out. He recruits at such a high level either way. He'll hit with a quarterback, and I think he's just got the program humming right now. So if it doesn't work out with Moore, I think it'll work out with somebody eventually.
Okay. I like that. I think it's just worth a talk of how this season goes. I think will maybe change the way Oregon operates just because of they have the pockets to do what Ohio State did. Ohio State puts up a $30 million roster last year. There's no reason that Oregon couldn't do the same year over year with Phil Knight money behind him. So
a lot of
what's the topic there
out there right now.
Yeah.
At least
I don't know of that amount. Well, of that amount, you're probably floating within. Yeah, I would say max 5. Because Ohio State
Cignetti came out publicly at Big Ten Media Days. Didn't he say like 8?
8 teams have a $30 million roster. That really isn't far off. I mean, you could probably name them if we really wanted to go through them. But all right, well, I'm sure we'll talk about Oregon later. Let's keep moving down the line. Before we go to the next part of the show, let's talk No Rivals, our great partner over at No Rivals. Shop NoRivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on all of your awesome new hats. The Big Ten teams available on No Rivals: Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan State, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, and as of maybe a couple days ago, Indiana. So if you're a Hoosiers fan, hop on No Rivals for the first time and get your team's cap. Use the code PTFS for free shipping on all of those awesome new hats for game day. Shout out No Rivals. Shop NoRivals.com today. All right. With that, let's go on to conference title favorites. Let's talk who's supposed to win the Big Ten compared to odds makers this year. And let's have a conversation about it. Ohio State is the reigning favorite, plus 190. Penn State plus 230. Oregon at plus 330. And then Michigan with a massive jump behind them at plus 10,000. Fellas, Ohio State, they're the favorite after winning the national title this year. And then all of a sudden, they didn't even win the Big Ten. They weren't even playing in it last year. So can they make the game this year? And they're the favorite to win it. My question is Ohio State overvalued when it comes to odds right now, Jake?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the gambling odds, I don't know if Ohio State is just that smart of a play. And I'd have to go back and be like, what's their odds to make the playoff? I'm assuming it's like minus 125. But yeah, at plus 190, you can probably get them on a line like maybe as an underdog to Penn State or something later in the year to just to bet it. So I think they're a little overvalued. Just so many questions with, what Julian Sain's going to look like. I think Julian Sain's going to be really good, but he's one of them new freshman quarterbacks we just have not seen yet, really, outside of some spring game tape. The thing with, you lost, how many draft picks they have last year? 15 or something.
Yeah, it was some
unfortunate.
dumb like 7 in the first round.
And I know you're Ohio State and you're churning these kids like crazy with blue chip guys left and right, but there's so many question marks on this team. And I know you have two of the best players in college football with Smith and Caleb Downs, but those aren't like groundbreaking, game-changing positions if they don't have the right pieces around them. So if you're just going to bet Ohio State at plus 190 to win the Big Ten, I think it is overvalued. I don't think it's a great play.
I can.
Yeah, go ahead,
talk about
JP.
the
I'll
other
give
two.
you
I was
give
just
your
gonna
answer.
say-
I'm trying to avoid the dog barking. Sorry for the bad.
What did Maggie
podcast
say?
pause.
What'd she think?
She's pissed at Ohio State being the favorite. I think she sees the helmets. I'm ingraining her correctly, so she was running around. JP, give your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll touch on the other two. For me, like Penn State wise, with the most pressure it's ever had on it, that's the, like, is that really worth the number that you're gonna get on it?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's tough. And that is kind of the same situation where wouldn't you just rather take like their win season total or their win total season over? God, I cannot speak. That is the hardest phrase I've said all day.
Words are hard.
Take that win total over, and then to make the playoff, because I don't know, to take them to win the conference, insist that maybe they're 11-1, 12-0, and have to win another game against an Oregon, an Illinois, an Ohio State, a Michigan, whoever you want to plug in there. That to me isn't worth it. That's the most pressure. You're betting on a team that just it has a lot of pressure on it. I mean, there's nothing really else to say there. I'm not hating on any of it. I'm just trying to kind of make a point. If you're going from the odds perspective, the Oregon side, like you kind of have to think Dante Moore is going to be the guy, and then if you're really confident in that, if you're not confident in that, you're not going to bet that because you don't know what Austin Novosad is and you don't know what their plan is if he takes snaps. So that's my whole thing is it really gets tough. And then you're betting on at Ohio State, probably guys that are more ready right now than Oregon. Oregon's got a ridiculous talent roster right now, just in the two deeps at every position. Like they've recruited the hell out of everything and been awesome. So there's pieces there, right? But to me, is you're betting on quarterbacks you're not so sure on. And then I wrote this down and I just said it, like the sheer depth of Oregon is worth noting. Maybe they're just a year or two off. Maybe these guys just need one season under their belt. But to me, if you're looking at the top three, there's pros and cons to both. Like Jake just said, the number for Ohio State's probably not worth the squeeze. There's other places you could get, something better, some kind of other bet. You're betting on Penn State, a program that traditionally hasn't beaten the top two teams in the Big Ten in Michigan and Ohio State. Hasn't won a Big Ten title since 2016, and now you're betting on them on the season. They have the most pressure, and then on the other side, Oregon, they got to break in a new quarterback, and there's a lot of not very, very, very talented guys, but not a lot of experience in some of those key spots. Now they still have stars in some spots, like an Uyongo and in the receiver room, but you're not as proven in other spots. So there's pros and cons more on the top of this list than I think maybe than we were talking on the Big 12 or we were talking in the ACC at the top of the conference.
I feel like sometimes the returning production, although all of it's good, majority of it's good for Penn State, kind of the narratives that we usually talked on these guys, especially last season in some spots, are lost. Because if you look at the 4 teams we just named, we've named 3 with first-year quarterbacks, and that's Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan. And then your returner is Drew Aller. So it's like, this guy's coming back. All the other guys got new ones. We don't know anything about him. Like, yeah, it's Penn State's conference to lose, gentlemen. Are we forgetting that Drew Aller is like sometimes Drew Allers? Like, he's good. Hell of a football player. Going to be in the Heisman talk, especially at the early parts of the season, and probably will be at the end of the season. But, like, we've seen bad sides of him. So it's not crazy to say that he could be at the hands of a couple of these losses or closer games that Penn State's involved in early in the season or in big game spots. Like, he has to still develop further. He wasn't there last year. And there's no saying one of these new guys couldn't have a, Curtis Rourke first year at Indiana style season to where they all of a sudden are in the college football playoff or deep or somehow sneak a bid past Penn State after a bad loss into the Big Ten title. It's only 2 teams get the bid, boys. Ohio State won the national title. They didn't even play in this game last year. So it's not crazy to say they're overvalued at plus 190. There's no value there if you're a bettor to take that. I mean, you're going to make yourself nervous for no reason for a little bit of cash, especially with odds like that. So great question. And we're getting into more of those teams as we go on, but they kind of broke them down within those 3 main brands there. My question is, we named Michigan as the fourth team there, plus 10,000, right?
1,000.
Almost 700. Oh, I'm sorry, plus 1,000. Almost 700 points behind Oregon. Are we overvaluing Michigan? Like, should they even be at 1,000? Should they be the next team up behind Oregon?
Yes, the question to that question, yes, I think they should be at this point. They should have the fourth highest gambling odds.
Bryce Underwood, believe
it is a big Bryce Underwood bet, but guys, let's just name the other three ahead of them. Again, Julian Sayin. I mean, Drew Aller's the most experienced, but you just mentioned Parks. We don't know what we get in big games out of him. And then Dante Moore. So, like, 3 of the top 4 are all with new starting quarterbacks. So why not bet on one of the best recruits we've seen in quite some time at that position? I think top to bottom too, like Justice Haynes is going to be really good for them running the football. I think they're going to figure it out. Wink Martindale is going to figure out the defense. Like losing Grant and Graham is massive, like absolutely massive. I don't know if we've seen a pair of interior defensive linemen like those two recently, but I do think the rest of it, like they have good outside linebackers. They have good edge rushers. The bodies are there to compete with Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State. They just they have no receivers. Their receivers are horrendous. To blue chip Michigan standards, they're horrendous.
No. Time out. No, don't do that. They haven't had a really good receiver room in a good amount of time. Like it ain't like
Roman Wilson was good, not a room, but Roman Wilson was good.
One name. I knew you were going there.
Yeah, they've had good receivers, singular, but they haven't had a game breaker at that position in a while. So you can't sit there and say they're recruiting blue chippers in the receiving room. They might be, but none of them have panned out in a way that you're looking at everywhere else across this conference.
I guess I was just shocked and wanted to base the question more off of the absence of Indiana on this list. Like, I think people forget, and granted, schedule helped them last year, especially within the Big Ten. But like they brought in guys with a ton of experience. Like Fernando Mendoza completed 70% of his passes last year, gentlemen. So there's different situations that made me think maybe there shouldn't be a Michigan on this list and somebody else, especially. But we'll wait and see as we preview those teams further through the show. All right, let's go into the next gambling-based question, but this one's still based off the conference title odds, really. Is there any benefit to you for taking a team outside of the top 3 in this conference? We talked about the top heaviness, but do you see any bright side for fans to maybe invest or put a bet down on that Michigan or somebody behind them? Or do you really feel like the champions within those top 3? Again, is it that style of season? I feel like it's more open, but what do you think? Let's go to JP first.
Yeah, I actually thought I wrote these numbers down, but I did not. So I'm pulling.
I got them for you if you need them.
Places. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Next 4.
What do you need? So we got USC at 19-1. We got Iowa at 34-1. Indiana at 36-1. Illinois at 40-1. Nebraska also at 40-1. Washington at 55-1. And then the rest, I mean, you're not betting any of those other teams at like 110-1 for Michigan State.
Then to say I'd say then there is like in Illinois, in Indiana, like you would take a flyer on those. I think you hesitate more on Indiana, just schedule based, but it's not that tough of a Big Ten schedule. Just a little tougher than last year's. You take a flyer out on Illinois, thinking that maybe if they just have one loss, they'd win a tiebreaker and get into that thing. And, I'd hesitate on an Iowa or Nebraska because I think they have tougher schedules, but Nebraska's got a workable schedule. You are taking a flyer out of Nebraska at 40-1, which is the whole point of this segment. So if you would like to do that for schedule reasons and you believe in the 30-year rule thing and you believe in what Raiola could be with Holgorsen, like that's probably worth a play too, I would feel like. I don't know. I kind of feel like it is still a top half of this conference, like top 3 type year. But it ain't bad at that number to get any of those teams. So
I would say, if you're gambling, like control your unit size.
That's gambling.
If you take one,
please, for the love of everything, do not put an entire unit on 40-1.
Yeah, because like you know what I mean though. Because when we talk Big 12, and you're throwing maybe a bigger unit on the 10th or 11th odds team, realistically, any of these non-top 3 teams are probably not going to make it. Take is it worth taking a flyer on Indiana or Illinois? JP, I do think so. And then if they make the Big Ten title, you can, go hedge it, do that, maybe see that. But like, I'm not like, don't bet the middle of the Big Ten like it's the Big 12, because it is not. And more than likely,
you're struggling to figure out what unit size to put on certain bets, you probably need to seek some help and or get into an FAQ.
It's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you bet on one singular game on a Saturday should not be, probably not, the same amount you're throwing on a future on a team that hasn't even taken a snap yet. So
yeah, 2 weeks before week 0, maybe don't full unit play a future for the end of the season. Just
Especially
our best advice.
There are people though that like value futures more than game picks itself. Like,
I'm not sure if we can offer any gambling advice from Tennessee minus 79.5. Jake.
No. I'm not throwing advice out there. I'm just saying there are people that would rather play futures than
people
every Saturday.
There are people that play. You have been that statement. There are people out there taking Tennessee minus 79.5 live.
That's a game.
You.
Yeah, no, that is me. Of course. No, it's also timeout. Don't get it twisted. It's Kent State plus 79. I'm not taking.
They're not going to beat it by 80. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not laying Tennessee. I'm saying there are people out there that when they gamble, they value conference title or like over under win totals more than me betting spreads every weekend. So there are people out there that really look at this stuff and like analyze it. Is it even worth a decent bet? That's kind of what the point, I think, of the point of this conversation is. Is the middle of the Big Ten even worth your money?
To be fair, that's how you bet the first 2 weeks. Is you do wait for a team to go up 28-0 in the first quarter, early second quarter, and take
that's nothing new around here.
FCS dog plus 65.5, plus 70.5, because that's more than it will be after long. Got to be ready for it. But they're not going to disrespect guys like that.
Got to stay on it.
It's a good one to follow. Everybody on this show has done that at least once in their gambling career. Also, please gamble responsibly. 1-800-BETS-OFF if you feel like you have a problem. All right, let's go into coaches with the most pressure going into 2025. These could be for various reasons, could be positive, could be negative. Tell us about your coach and why he has that pressure going on his back into this season. JP, you first.
Yeah, I'll go pretty quick with mine. I feel like we're rolling a little bit on the Big Ten here. I'll go Mike Locksley at Maryland. You've already seen the transfer portal kind of eat them up a little bit. He talked during media days about how he felt last season went. A lot of guys kind of quit. A lot of guys, he felt like he lost the locker room in a lot of spots. And now they flipped the offensive roster almost completely, the defensive roster almost completely. This is still a program that has had elite receivers over the last few years. They've had, solid quarterbacks. I'd call Billy Edwards a really good replacement for Tagovailoa. Like, I would just say, like, there is pressure on him because if you continue to shrink the record like it was last year and not get to a bowl game, there's a lot of pressure if you're not keeping the kids you're recruiting, consistently losing kids to the portal, and losing games. Like, I think it's that simple for them.
There's definitely pressure on him this season. I think, especially in media days when he admittedly openly said he lost the locker room last year.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, how can that happen? Like, how can
this
players
is an easy schedule? Coach? This might be the easiest schedule in the Big Ten.
And they still got an over-under win total as low as they do. So a lot of pressure on his back with the draw that they got and what he said during the offseason going into this season, plus their quarterback still playing elsewhere within the conference. It's a great mention. Definitely pressure on Locksley's back. Jake, your pick.
Yeah, I kind of picked, I picked Joey McGuire last week for the Big 12. And this one might be obvious again, but isn't it Lincoln Riley, USC? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he's probably number one on this list.
Penn State based on going McGuire last week, right? Like big expectations, big spend type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and USC is a relatively decent sized spender, one of the biggest historical brands all in college football. And they fired, I heard a stat like they fired Clay Helton in year 4, and his record right at that point was better than where Lincoln Riley was. I might be messing that stat up, but I think that's kind of correct. So the point is like they fired Sark. I think it was after 4 years. USC is a program that's quick to cut ties with their coach. And even with a background and a pedigree as good as Lincoln Riley is as a play caller and a QB guru, you just wonder if enough is enough, if they're going to accept 7 wins again. I think they have some of the talent to do it. They have a quarterback coming in that's going to be the future after Maava this season. But it's just a matter of, does USC have the patience? And they're 5th or 6th in odds to win the Big Ten. So the expectations are still relatively high that they can compete in this league again. So we'll see.
Just quick on that. He has a lower win percentage than the last 3 post Pete Carroll coaches. So Lane Kiffin at 651, Sark at 667, and held at 657. Riley sits at 650 right now. That's from, you can see our ad. Brett over at Pick Six Previews had that for us. So shout out to Brett.
Yeah, no, that's definitely worth noting, and definitely pressure on Lincoln Riley's back. I think the fan base would agree with you. You kind of see them talk through social media platforms. They got a ton of burners out there, Fight on Rusty, people like that we've seen around and interacted with us. They know something has to change. Like, they've got to finish seasons. Like, we thought it was going to be last year, right? Like, you saw the LSU game and you were like, all right, here comes a Lincoln Riley team that's going to make a national impact. And then they dropped the Michigan game, and then they dropped this one, and they changed quarterbacks, and Miller Moss transfers out. Yeah.
Don't go too deep on USC, please.
Okay, we won't. Let's go to mine. Mine, pretty obvious. Look at the helmets behind me. Matt Rule. Matt Rule's got some pressure on him this year. I mean, not pressure to lose his job in my case. I think those days of Nebraska are kind of slowing down compared to what we've done, like the Mike Rileys. And, like, it's not going to be a 2-year firing. We gave Frost 4 years, for God's sake. But year 3 under Matt Rule, everybody knows his timeline. Wins 11 games, wins 10 games, double digits. The money's building, all the facilities going around, all the changes he's making to the program. You've seen the impact he's had in the transfer portal, these guys he's brought in. It's almost getting to that point of prove it. He just keeps checking these boxes of, like, bringing Nebraska back to at least, the middle top of the picture to then the top of the picture and get back to a bowl game. Win the bowl game. He did those 2 things last year. So we got to keep seeing those steps forward. And a lot of the fan base expects them to. But when has that never happened during a Nebraska offseason? So I do think there's some unspoken pressure on Matt Rule to actually perform. And he knows it. He said all that matters here is winning. So we have to win. And so he knows it going into this season. And obvious pick, but Matt Rule, year 3, timelines, you got to follow the timeline if that's what you're hired upon. And now's the time. All right, let's go on to most intriguing team within the Big Ten Conference. This could be for various reasons. It could be the worst team. It could be the best team. What's interesting to you about your squad? And tell us why, Jake.
I think when you involve Kirk Cignetti in anything nowadays, it's always intriguing. So that's my pick. Indiana, a team that lost a ton of starters last year, a lot of impact players. But I think the returning production for them, the core production, you would say it's still their best 3 or 4 players. You got Pons and Kamara and Surratt. And then you bring in a guy like Fernando Mendoza. That is intriguing in itself because there are, projections out there that this guy could be a top 15 draft pick. And it's like he was good at Cal, but he wasn't great. So it's super interesting there. Not to mention you also pick up Roman Hemby, Maryland's best running back a year ago. Pat Coogan, if you remember him, center for Notre Dame, he's the dude screaming the F-bomb before every game in the playoff. So you got a big guy there that could shift a culture around, senior-led guy on the offensive line. I just, the only difference between Indiana last year and this year's the schedule. You have Illinois and Iowa at Iowa in the first 5 weeks of the season, and then you have at Oregon. So it's not like your schedule last year where you had the benefit of. This team could be better than last year, still go 9-3, 8-4, but at the ceiling, I still think 11 wins is still on the table for this team. I really do if they're at their best.
Yeah, no, definitely fair points there. I like that pick. JP, what is your team? Who's intriguing you within the Big Ten this year?
Yeah, I said don't go too far on USC because that's where I put USC as the most intriguing team right now in the Big Ten. Win total 7.5. They're plus 450 to make the playoff, plus 2,200 to win the title or the Big Ten title. Strength of schedule, according to Phil Steele's, number 20. So pretty tough strength of schedule there.
Yep.
For me, it's Jaden Maeva. Like I'm still not sold that Miller Moss was the issue last year. I think they had other things that just weren't clicking. I understand why the change was made, and I get it. But for me, it's tough to say that he's just going to be the super improved passer and the offense is just going to be that much smoother. Now, on the flip side, maybe he is, but then I really wonder about the receiving room. Like, they've had really good receivers through the years. Now, they have Lane, McCray, and Lemon back. Like, they have 3 people who are legit pass catchers, but where's my elite guy? Where's my, bail me out at any time type guy? That's also a worry. And then, the back 7 of that defense relies on a lot of transfers and high-end recruits without a lot of not a lot of experience. but I assume that there's a second-year coordinator, bump a little bit. It's just intriguing to me to get that tough of a strength schedule. Kind of had the expectation that we're sitting in the top. Like I've seen as low as 10 and I've seen as high as 4 for their finish in the Big Ten. And so it's intriguing to me because I do think Lincoln Riley is really working hard to change how this thing operates and how good the defense is and how they're more physical. But I don't know if it's just immediately now the second year, even with the coordinator hire, if it even gets much better. They could be a much better team and still finish with the same record from a season ago. And so I still think they're a quarterback away, and I think they're just maybe one or two thing else away, but
got to finish
not
games
too far. Yeah,
I think like if
sure.
the defense takes a little bit of a step up, but the defense kept them in games last year for the most part, just didn't really finish. I think it is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, USC is definitely a team that would apply to this list. I think there's higher expectations and needed expectations to retain that fan base again if you're Lincoln Riley. My pick was a team that we talked really highly about all offseason because of what they did last year, what we knew was coming back. I think if we put it on paper and talk about it a little bit further here, maybe we can get to the bottom of why the odds are the way they are. But that's Illinois. Illinois, we saw what the season they did last year and the wins they had on the road in tough environments and the competitiveness they showed through almost every game besides maybe one in Oregon. But they returned 15 starters this year, gentlemen, including Luke Altmaier. There's not a lot of teams in this conference returning a guy who has as much experience as Luke Altmaier and a winning football team, a good one nonetheless. But yet they're still in the back half of the odds. I think it's more of what we've seen from Illinois in the past after a successful season, which I don't think is going to happen off the top of my head. But let's go back to the the Illinois days, back when you'd beat Ohio State, that 07 to 08. So that 07 season, right? They ripped off double-digit wins. Then you go into 2008 and you go 5-7. So is it a little bit of fearfulness of what they did in the past where last year was the year and then, it's just a brand new team this year. But no, you made some good additions. You added Hudson Clement, the West Virginia leading receiver from that team last year on the outside. Granted, you lost Akari Franklin, who was a good weapon, and Pat Bryant, who was an All-American. But there's guys that can be shown on the national scale because of the experience of the quarterback as well. Maybe they weren't names coming in, but they could be later on. Return all 5 on the offensive line. On the defensive side, you get back 8 starters, plus you bring in 3 transfers who all started at Wisconsin. So, you have so much experience on the field. It feels weird that the odds are where they're at. I'm intrigued in a good way for them. I think they could win the Big Ten Conference in 2025, but it doesn't feel like a lot of people, including odds makers, agree with me, which makes me second guess it. So where are you guys out on Illinois, JP? I know you're kind of high on them too.
If you want to just, transition into a long shot title pick, I'll go right ahead and talk Illinois because that's where I have them.
All right. So let's do that. Let's transfer it over because we're kind of running long anyway, but let's go long shot title pick and then you expand on Illinois because that is your long shot title pick.
Yeah, I had them here because the number, the schedule, and then the returning production. And we usually talk about returning production. Yeah, if it's returning starters doesn't mean returning talent. In this case, I think in a lot of spots it does. I wrote this down. This is a better headline than the one I came up with earlier. Lightning in a bottle or a sign of things to come. They were played close to just about everybody they beat last year. Northwestern, Kansas, Nebraska, Purdue, and Rutgers were all really close games. They probably could have lost, and now we're not talking about them, right? You're a couple points away from 9-3 being 6-6. It's just a complete, that's how it works. But at the same time, recruiting's got so much better under Bielema. It feels like it's an actual identity football program, whereas a lot of years it didn't feel like Illinois really had any real identity. You didn't know who they were. They were different every week. And so that's where I kind of had them. But at the number and at the schedule they got, I think 3,000 is what I saw in an undisclosed book that doesn't do anything for us. So I'm not going to say who it is. It's a good book. It's a good number. It's a good schedule to go get. And the expectations are there. And so I feel like that's worth taking a flyer out on them.
All right. I like that long shot title pick. Jake, give us your long shot title pick within this conference.
Okay. I was going to say I'm not high on Illinois. I think it could go one way or the other.
Yeah, you can Illinois.
No,
you can break down the Illini.
Yeah, I think teams that play within 1-score games and win all of them the year prior scare me. Iowa State's in that category.
I was going to say, Iowa State scare you? Or
Yep, 100% it does. Because I've seen it with Iowa State in years past in 2021. Winning 1-score games, what were they, 5-1 last year? That's really hard to do 2 years in a row. Indiana,
really
Nebraska, Nebraska, for example. Illinois had to come back, won a close game against Nebraska. I know they went to Lincoln, but then Nebraska goes to Indiana last year. They just smacked them. So that's where I'm like, I think Indiana is for real. One thing I'd give Illinois is Altmaier versus an unknown in Mendoza. That's where I'd give Illinois the edge. I just like this team could go 3-3 guys in 1-score games this year and still, kind of be the same team they were last year. That's just kind of how college football works. So that scares me. And I know Justin, my co-host at Iowa State Fan Perspective, has the Illinois win total. We've talked about this. The 1-score games thing, it's hard to do 2 years in a row.
Let me piggyback off that for my long shot pick, because you just said, you feel like you were a believer in Indiana.
Sure.
My long shot title pick is Indiana, and I think the reason the odds are where they're at for them, who played in the college football playoff last year, like we talked about it earlier, of why they're maybe further back behind Michigan this year. The more I thought about it, the more I thought about how, we really saw Sig get a lot out of Curtis Rourke last year, like even better than what he did at Ohio. And I think it's because of the scheme. It's a very RPO heavy scheme. That's why the Hemby pickup was so big, because Lawton and Ellison, who they lost, were huge in that offense. But I think a lot of people forget that they were with Sig. They came over from James Madison, like a lot of that talent and production from last season that just worked and knew that scheme. So I almost feel like, are we getting more of a first-year look for a head coach this year with Cignetti because of all the JMU guys that he lost? Like, they're learning the scheme more this season than they were last season because of all the guys he brought over with him. So I think that's why the odds are where they're at. And I may be a little bit lower, but like, you got to think with Cignetti and the way he wins, that's my long shot title pick, but I think they're in a long shot for a reason. Brought in good talent. I do like Mendoza. He completed 70% of his passes last year. You want to know a really good way to retain a high completion percentage? Run the RPO. Make short, quick passes with a good running game. Yeah. I think that they could be good again, but I think the media hates the non-college football playoff talk, but like there's a tougher road path here too for Indiana. They play on the road at Iowa, at Oregon, at Penn State. You're going to get an answer a lot easier than you did just Ohio State in week 11 last year on the Hoosiers. So long shot, but I feel like they could do it.
I think we talk about their offense all the time and how they beat everybody 66-7, but like, let's go to the 7 part of that story. Their defense was actually lights out last year. Their run defense was really, really good. You get Fisher back, you get Kamara back. Like, I think you can build off, and I think they did really well in the portal, like you said, Parks. I think that defense could be just lights out again.
Yeah, it could be a team that definitely turns it around. All right, Jake, your long shot title pick.
Yeah, nothing says long shot. This is the guy that took 95-1 on Virginia when we did our ACC preview. I'll go 55-1 here, which feels like 95-1 in the Big Ten. I love Washington, guys. Like, I will maybe talk about them later in the episode with another topic, but like what Damon Williams could be this year is just, I think the sky is the limit. He was 74% completion percentage. The back half of that season, he was just super good. And you just saw that glimpse in the bowl game. And it's like, man, this kid could be really special for them. Jonah Coleman comes back. You're going to have a good run game to rely on if Williams needs to kind of gel in his first season and kind of get rolling. He's got David Boston to throw to. He can rely on that. I think the offensive line's going to get better and make improvements. They got Kansas State's best offensive lineman a year ago. Like, the defense kind of concerns me. You lose Belichick. You lose a lot of good pieces. But you get Jacob Manu. You get Takario Davis. These are guys from Fish's 2023 Arizona team that were a part of that really good team. So I don't know. You get Ryan Walters as your defensive coordinator, and Fish thinks he's the best in college football. It didn't speak on behalf of Purdue, but guys, he was lights out in Illinois. So I really think he's going to thrive at Washington, which makes me trust he can turn this group around.
Yeah, Nebraska's one of the teams that. Sorry, go ahead, JP.
No, I was just going to say they need to worry less about the pass game and defending that than they do beefing up in the interior and stopping the run. I remember watching them in Kinnick last year. And Damon was good. He didn't play every single snap. They were kind of doing a little bit of both, but they just could not stop the run. Like, it was a cakewalk. It was 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. So that's my big thing for them is they have to get better. And I know they got size, but size doesn't mean talent in some spots.
Going back to the Walters point really quickly is, Nebraska went on the road to Purdue last year, and Purdue was a bad football team. Nebraska won 28-3, but like that defense was stout. I mean, it was middle third quarter, it was 0-0, and they were stout the year before when Nebraska beat them handily in Lincoln. I mean, they had to return a kick. Like Nebraska had some touchdowns in some weird ways. They even had a pick six last year. So it's never really truly a defensive problem. And they had some elite players that are ended up in other places now that Walters left, which we'll get into later. But like the defense, if they take a step forward, I love your point, because I think people forget where Washington was just a few years ago. Like it's a brand that has the resources to do it. So it wouldn't be stunning if they did it again, right? So I like it.
Ohio State's got to go out there in early September.
We'll talk about that
one. I had my Washington year. I was all in on them when people weren't.
We all were.
First
year of the show.
Now I'm kind of off of them. No, not the year we all whiffed on them. The next year. The year they went to the national title. This year I'm kind of in between. If they feel like a little too much of the pick that everybody's got to talk about.
All right, let's go into wild card teams, gentlemen. Last team segment. Who's your wild card team? We haven't covered any of the three on this list. I'm going to let JP go first because I was genuinely shocked by this pick.
I mean, if there's a definition of wild card teams, it's any of the teams that came from the Big Ten West in a lot of ways. Minnesota is a wild card team to me. They consistently give good teams fits. They do it on the road. They'll do it at home. And the whole thing with them is that they had good talent. I think when you look at Brosmer a season ago, they've had good receivers through the years. They've been good defensively. The run game just wasn't a Minnesota standard last year. Like the offensive line was big, but it wasn't getting a ton of run push. It made a difference. Now you go into this year and it's kind of looking at there's pieces that quarterback, running back, and receiver all feel like and sounds like from reading Minnesota stuff, listening to some of their guys talk, that they're comfortable at all those places, and you should be, because I think there's talent there. Now you're breaking in a new quarterback, but if that is where you're excited, then the offensive line needs to come with that, and that's a Minnesota staple that just wasn't as good last year. It had been in previous years, and the defense is usually really darn good, but they lose star power on the defense at some spots. And I think that changes things, and a coordinator switch. And so if it just continues to be Minnesota football, there's no saying that they're not going to get somebody, early or late in the year that stuns. And there's no saying that maybe they struggle to make a bowl game. Like there's an in-between. You could flip a coin and that's what you're going to find out of Minnesota. But I do find them, intriguing, and it's definitely a wild card team because the amount of teams they get a shot at. They get a shot at Ohio State. They get a shot at Nebraska and Iowa and Oregon and Wisconsin. Like they get a shot at a lot of these teams in the middle of the top of the conference. They're going to get one of them.
Yeah, PJ Fleck feels like he's been floating in that 7 to 8 win range, and he's like due for a Pat Fitzgerald-esque Big Ten title run. So I think they are a perfect fit for the wild card division. I hope that doesn't happen against Nebraska. I will be in attendance for that. Little announcement there up in Minneapolis. So it's the team that has a lot of teams numbers. They had some big wins that went unknown last year. Like the USC win at that time was pretty big for that program, and they competed in a lot of games. So definitely Minnesota's not a dumb pick. Jake, let's go into your wild card team.
I mean, this is
you're going to go about as wild as a wild card can get.
Yeah, you got to find an Indiana from last year is kind of what I was doing when I tried to pick this. And I think Maryland
old comparison
might be your team. It is, but because it's like not a first-year head coach. Loxley's been around for a while, but some of the things are a little similar, like schedule-wise. It doesn't get any easier than what Maryland has on a schedule in college football for a Power 4 team in 2025. And then the Malik Washington situation, freshman, top recruit, comes in like it's a no-lose situation, I think. Just throw Washington in this offense and let him try to go work against a poor schedule and just see what happens. Loxley, JP mentioned he's kind of under pressure, or he's maybe on the hot seat, but top 25 recruiting class last year, has a top 3 player in the 26 recruiting class. Like he's kind of recruiting pretty well. Now he's just got to keep these guys around and not lose them to the portal. But maybe you build off something with Malik Washington this year. Maybe they surprise some people, win 7 or 8 games. It'd be an absolute shock. That's where I think it could be your wild card team this year.
That would be a big time wild card. JP, you named Loxley as your, coach with a lot of pressure. What do you think on Maryland being a wild card pick for Jake?
Schedule plays into it. To me, it's tough sledding. A lot has to go right for them. And I also think we're on the over of Maryland mentions in this one. I think they found themselves in 2 or 3 spots. but I just think it's too much tough sledding in a lot of positions that have to go right for them. And so I think they're stepped down from wild card. I think I know what I'm getting out of them. Now they may win a couple more games than I expect, but I don't see them getting to a bowl.
All right, going on to my pick for the last wild card team. Forgive me, GA, but I think Iowa's a good pick for this spot. I think a lot of people have a lot of question marks around them defensively with the guys that they lost if they know their team from last year. You obviously have heard about the quarterback. JP, you got to correct me. It's Gronowski, right?
Gronowski.
Yeah, it's way too close to Gronkowski. Gronowski. Everybody's high on him, and we'll see, pending how the shoulder surgery healed up, if he can throw the ball better in that offense, what scheme we get out of this team. But I think even with the improved offense last year, statistically, it was still a rushing star show, like with Caleb Johnson. Majority of the production came from there, and he's not there anymore. And Patterson and who's the other one? Moulton. They're good backs, and the scheme is going to allow them to have good stats and what they want to do as a football team. But it's not a clear picture for me that those two guys can replace the offensive production and sometimes the single-handedly carrying an offense show that Caleb Johnson did last year. And I think that's Iowa fans would agree. I think at the defensive side, you lose Higgins, you lose Castro. It's hard to be like, Phil Parker's defense is going to take a massive step back. Like, that's just not what they do. So that's why I have them in this spot, because if there's any team at the style that they're coached, similar, not the same, JP, don't cut my head off, to a PJ Fleck, feeling like even if they don't have, you feel like they have the stars that they lost and that's all you're thinking about, like they can be so well coached and schematically sound in what they want to do that they win football games that they shouldn't. So I think Iowa's a good fit for this spot. I think the wide receiver position's a question mark, but you got Gill, you got Waitgen, who we've seen in punt return game. He's an explosive athlete, but haven't seen much out of him in the passing game. Really comes down to the quarterback play, but if you can fill in the spots of Caleb Johnson and the running back position and get some production similar to what he had last year in some games, you never know. Could be a wild card team. That's my breakdown. Jake, would you agree? It looks like you got that little shit-eating grin like we want to talk Iowa football now.
Well, JP, I don't want to know if JP appreciated my tweet today. I know he tweeted back at me. It was unnecessary roughness, tweeted about Gronowski, and it was like, does Iowa have a quarterback? And I said, bigger question, does he have a receiver to throw to? And I know you mentioned Anderson and Gill and Chattanooga receiver, but it's like,
and the freshman, they returned the freshman too. JP, he was pretty good last year.
Vanderzee,
most of the year. Yep.
Like, I just, you got to believe it to see it at this point with an Iowa receiver. I don't feel like that's
fine.
Nobody talks about the leech. Like, Kirk Ferentz is still the head coach of this football team. At what point does he be like, run the fucking ball? Like, he's going to do that at some point in the game.
Yeah.
Kirk Ferentz team.
Well, it's going to have to become the strength because the offensive line is really good. The defensive line is really good. And so it's going to be the strength. It's what they're going to do. But they don't have a game breaker at receiver right now. But I do think they have a better receiver room than the last 3 years combined. Like, I don't think there's a question mark. I'm not saying they're game breakers and, people that are going to jump off the page on you on Saturday, but they are guys who are going to be able to make plays and run routes that get open. Crazy thought. And so I just think that's where it is. I don't think that they are struggling to find guys at this moment in time. I think they want proven.
They're content with what they got.
A Gill, a Sam Phillips from Chattanooga, like proven commodities if you're bringing guys in. So that's kind of where I'm at there. And I'm worried about the defense. If I'm being honest with you, I'm worried about the back. The DBs scare me right now.
Your 5-star safety you're worried about?
There's not another white kid from Iowa that can win the Super Bowl out there. Come on.
Moved him to free to give him a shot to be able to play a little more loose, and he's just got to be better against the pass this year.
All right. Those are our wild card teams. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to names and players to know within this conference. These are guys you'll hear about. Hopefully, I don't think we have any chalk picks. Jake didn't list his, but I don't think we have any chalk picks that year. Be like Jeremiah Smith, but we may have guys based off that. So let's go you first, Jake. Give us 3 players to watch within the Big Ten.
I don't think this is chalk because I didn't even see him in like all conference selections. Like Jacoby Lane, wide receiver USC. I know Mekhi Lemon's a big name that everybody wants to talk about, but like as far as like fun to watch, like one-handed grabs, playmaker, Lane's just as a receiver, just connoisseur. I love watching Jacoby Lane. So he's probably my favorite to watch within this conference outside of, Jeremiah Smith.
All right, JP, you're up.
Yeah, I'll go Jonah Coleman. I still think he got more kind of eyes while he's at Arizona.
100%.
But this is a guy that ran for 1,000 a year ago, 5.5 a pop, 10 touchdowns, 23 receptions, a little bit do it all. He'll be the bell cow for a Washington team that's probably going to be pretty good at running the football and spreads you out when running the football, right? This isn't just between the tackles. It's his ability to hit the corners and get on the edge. So I think that's one to highlight within, to be completely honest, outside of Penn State, maybe other spots, there's no star running backs in the conference. Now this is a guy that could be that number 2, number 3 guy in possibly all Big Ten.
I love that pick. I would agree. I think he got way more attention at Arizona. My pick, let's go back to the outside on the reigning national champs. It's a name you probably know, but I want to talk about why he's a player to note. That's Carnell Tate at Ohio State. I think obviously the ceiling's very high. It's an Ohio State wide receiver. It's not crazy to put him on this list, but I want people to note him because I feel like everybody only talks about Jeremiah Smith, but I feel like as a true freshman, beginning to middle of the season, you kind of like had the Big Ten teams feel like prove it, right? Like beat me deep. And he just kept consistently doing it. With a full year under his belt, they're going to have to look other ways. There's going to be schematic adjustments for Jeremiah Smith this year that he did not experience last year based off the tape. So there's going to be guys that have to step up on the back end. And I think Tate can be that guy. I think he's going to have a step forward statistical year because of the impact Smith does to take away some of the secondary for other teams. So I think Carnell Tate's definitely one to note. Jack, back to you, Jake.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and trash on the bottom 6 all night. We got to show some love to some of these guys.
Hold one out.
How about Devin McCoby? I hope I said that right. Running back, Purdue.
Correct.
Yeah. You know, Barry Odom comes in, grabs about 50 guys.
Wait. Are you talking about Maccabee? Maccabee.
Yeah,
Maccabee. It's Maccabee. Yeah, it's Maccabee. Let's clear that up.
Okay.
Sorry, Purdue fans. I just had to. I didn't even.
See,
I just said
you're
yes.
supposed to
Like,
just
maybe they
put
got
the
a new guy, but
pronunciation.
then I put together that name could be the same. It's Maccabee. Go ahead.
Okay,
Well,
sorry.
just
And
tell
then
them put the
Purdue fans,
pronunciation on their darn website.
they're
fair.
just like, Purdue's just like, this freaking guy. I can't get enough of this guy. Well, here's the deal, Purdue fans. All right, Barry Odom brings in like 50 new guys through the portal. One guy sticks around. It's Maccabee. Led the team in rushing the last 4 seasons. He's the only returning starter. I don't know what's in store for Purdue
And he's
this
been
year.
good. He's had
Yeah,
good games.
exactly. He has. And against, obviously, clearly really poor offensive lines in front of him. And he's been solid. So, I don't know what's in store for Purdue this year. But hopefully Maccabee's a guy that can, maybe change the locker room, get people to buy into what Purdue is about and, maybe get a few exciting moments out of it. And I think he's a good back that actually needs consideration.
Purdue fans, don't behead me, but you're not all over the media all the time. This is the first time I'm learning that he's still there. That's a huge retention piece. So I love the pick. Go ahead, JP. You're next. Right? Your next guy. I think he's trying to play a sound.
What the hell?
Bad
I was trying to
podcast.
see if I could get his pronunciation on there.
Oh, the Maccabee.
I'll go Michael Kamara. I think that with 47 tackles, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles a season ago, I think Indiana just has a guy in the middle. I just think it's that simple. And yes, the defense would be good. Yes, there are DBs on that team who are going to get some love. But this guy has a chance to be first team all Big Ten and really anchor a team. Because if you don't have a good linebacker and you don't have a guy who can stop the run and has the ability to get out and do that, I think that you're lacking a team that has a real upside on the defense side of the ball. But they have one there.
My next pick, let's go to the linebacker position over at Michigan, Ernest Hausman. He has been in this program for a while. He was a part of the national championship team. He's originally a Nebraska guy, which is why I wanted to bring him up because he was a massive loss when he played for us as a true freshman. He brings a lot of leadership to this room. It's probably a top 3 group within the Big Ten, this linebacker core at Michigan, and he's going to be the standout of that. So I think he's going to have a massive season statistically. He's quick, he's great tackler in open space. So Ernest Hausman, definitely want to note, going to make a huge impact for Michigan's defense this year. Back to Jake.
Here you go. Here you go. Here's your pronunciation.
Okay.
Devin Maccabee.
Maccabee. Yeah. Parks got that right. Good job, Parks.
Thanks.
Ohio State had a really good freshman last year. If you guys remember that, he wore the number 4. He was pretty important for them. He was pretty good.
Yeah, I know his name.
Well, listen, there's another guy
John
that something around there. But there's another guy they're talking about that I don't know if he's going to be as big time, playmaker as what Jeremiah Smith was last year because it's super hard to replicate. But Devin Sanchez at the cornerback position, true freshman for Ohio State, is a guy to look out for. Our guy Brett at pick 6 already has him on his all Big Ten team. Like there is actually buzz throughout camp that this dude is a guy like a Caleb Downs kind of hype in the secondary as a true freshman. And then what better guy to learn under than Caleb Downs leading the defense behind you? I think this is a dude that everybody's going to know his name by the end of the season. I promise you.
Great. Another good DB at Ohio State, just what the world needed. JP, your pick.
This is the actual pronunciation one. I just didn't look hard enough on, to be honest with you. But we're not leaving the bottom of the barrel here. How about a guy in Griffin Wild that's transferred from South Dakota State?
Yep.
Is it
Sioux
Wild?
Sioux Falls kid. All right. So we got to shout out Sioux Falls. I think it's Wildy.
I'm
pretty sure it's Wildy.
I didn't do the proper research.
Well, just like Wild. That's not a crazy guess.
The PFF guys were saying Wild, and I'm pretty sure it's Wildy.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I got that correct. I just wanted to give a blank statement. I hadn't looked at it hard enough. But I'm watching him last year at South Dakota State throughout, when they were playing bigger competition and then throughout the year as well. 71 receptions isn't taken lightly. Over 1,000 yards isn't taken lightly. 12 touchdowns, all at South Dakota State. Now he's there with the guy that, was an OC for a little bit at South Dakota State. So there's some familiarity. I think him and Preston Stone might be two peas in a pod at Northwestern. I think he is the safety blanket, and that goes a long ways, especially, when the running back is pretty solid too in Cam Porter. I think that they have a solid thing to work off skill position wise at Northwestern. It's just everything else around it right now just hasn't come together for him.
Another season of games on the lake. He better be able to run the football. That's all I'm saying, Northwestern. All right, let's go to the middle of the barrel for mine. Let's go Coy Parrish at Minnesota. I mean, this guy, unbelievable last year at the defensive back position, but we've seen a lot of highlights via social media and early fall camp. He's playing both sides of the ball for this team, gentlemen. He's got the split jersey on. We have a Big Ten Travis Hunter capability coming in here. I mean, he's fast. He's showing good hands within the clips. We're going to see him on both sides of the ball. And PJ Fleck said he wants him on the field as much as possible. I don't want to take it away from say this is the new Travis Hunter, but he's going to have an impact, and he has the ability to make an impact at wide receiver for a Minnesota team who's kind of missed on that position and lost some huge talent. So definitely name to note. He's going to be on the stat sheet, both sides. I mean, he had 7 interceptions last year, and 3 of them were game sealing. So Coy Parrish, definitely a name to note of the Golden Gophers. All right, that's our players to note, 3 each. If you have anybody that we missed that you think the conference or the world needs to know about, drop them in the comments. We appreciate you. Subscription break. Take a second. Hit the subscribe button down by our logo. Scroll back to it. The video will resume right here when you come back. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you being here. Hit the like button in this video. We love you. Now let's go to most impactful transfers. Guys who've transferred into the Big Ten. Maybe it's from team to team within the conference. Give us a transfer that's going to make a massive impact for a Big Ten football team in 2025, JP.
Trevor Pena at Penn State's going to have to be one of these guys. They went out in Penn State and got multiple guys and decided if we're going to not be able to get homegrown receivers, we're going to go buy them. And that's what they did. They went and got Kyron Hudson, and they went and got Pena as well. One of these two has to hit, because if this team is going to win a national title, they need a big play receiver, and you have to then backload all the production that Tyler Warren had a season ago. And they still have solid tight ends. Don't get me wrong. They still have guys in that room that are going to be talented, but you still need a big play receiver. And the ones that they brought in last year didn't quite work out. I think it's Trevor Pena. I went that way over Hudson because I think Hudson's a stud. He had some really good plays early in the LSU USC game. Yeah, I actually got a chance to meet him down in Mexico, of all places. Wild. I just think that Pena was more of that big play threat in some spots. And so definitely kind of crazy to think that they have 2 of them now that have the possibility. It feels like they've been relying on 1 to hit. Now they have the opportunity for 2 of them.
I feel like we shouldn't have to backtrack. I'm just making a point on your behalf. I did it earlier, but we're hey, they still have talent at the position that they lost, but you are replacing a massive amount of production from Warren and 10 touchdowns. So guys like this need to be added. And it's kind of the same point I made with Caleb Johnson and Moulton and Patterson. Yeah, they're good, but you're asking a lot from a good athlete to do what the best athlete or even better athlete did before him. So definitely one to note there. Good one, JP. Mine is Dylan Thieneman on the back end at Oregon. He came from that Ryan Walters squad with Purdue. He was an all Big Ten freshman 2 years ago, still really good on the back half for a bad Purdue defense last year overall. But a hell of a player, great tackler, one of the best in the Big Ten. He heads on to Oregon. So it's within conference, but it's going to be a huge piece for this back end at Oregon, especially in the pass stopping game. So Dylan Feineman is mine. Jake.
I was going to go Mendoza, but he's so many questions up in the air with him. So I'm going to go a guy who I think is just a for sure, surefire impact guy. And I'll go on the other side of the ball in Eugene Parks, Mekhi Hughes. I think he's going to be a top 5 running back in college football. I think he is an absolute truck. What Oregon has done with running backs, Jordan James and a couple of others in the past with Dan Lanning's offenses have been really good. And I think Mekhi could be the best one of that bunch. If you didn't watch him at Tulane, you'll learn his name soon enough. I think he's going to be just a stud.
All right, there is your Big Ten players to note overall and transfers that will make impacts within the conference. Let's move it down the line. Let's go to best games in the conference. Before we do so, a little light launch for a new partnership. We'll have more details on this going forward, but our new partner, Frost Buddy, drinkware like no other. Check them out today. Go to frostbuddy.com/PTFS. Make sure you shop that link so they know we sent you. Pick out your awesome Frost Buddy for your collegiate team. Keep your drinks cold during your tailgates and check out Frost Buddy today. More details to come on that, but a quick note and a shout out to Frost Buddy for the new partnership on our behalf. All right, let's go down to best games in the conference. Gentlemen, give us 3 games. We'll go 1-1-1, just like we did players to watch, of you're intrigued by this. You got to tune into this. You can't miss this one. Jake, you go first.
Yeah, I could do this for our SEC preview next week too, but Michigan at Oklahoma, just 2 teams we're probably going to find out very quickly of what are these teams going to be. Brand new quarterbacks, new offenses, just a test for this freshman Bryce Underwood to see what he's made of. But we might, who knows? We might see Mikey Keene take the field. I'm not really sure, but really interested to see what we're going to get out of this Michigan group early.
JP.
I think I said that once. I just think Michigan gets fucking boat raced in that game against Oklahoma. That's just
I got to pull
feeling in that spot.
Now I got to pull the line.
The Mateer Not Show in Norman.
My first one's Nebraska USC. If you want 4 teams to have a shot at getting in the playoff, you need the middle of this conference to win games and look good doing it, and even look good losing the game. One of them's got to lose. That's a big one because I feel like those are 2 teams vying for the middle top of this conference. With both have huge aspirations. You got to come out on top on a game where you're equal with whoever you're lining up against.
Big one for sure. I will go with Ohio State at Washington. Jake mentioned it earlier when he talked about Washington as a long shot pick. It's a tough environment. It can be. We've seen Oregon go in there and have their struggles with a lot of talent on the field, and Ohio State could do the same. I think Washington fans, underrated. That stadium gets loud. Beautiful stadium. Going to be an awesome atmosphere and one definitely note to watch. Jake, back to you.
JP, you can go get Oklahoma -3 if you're feeling that confident right now. You can go lay that. But I'm going to go Oregon at Penn State.
That'd be a whiteout, right?
It is.
Think so? I would imagine. And it's probably an 11 o'clock. Is it the 2:30 kick for CBS? It'll be a good one. And again, kind of like my Michigan thing, this is a young Oregon team going on the road. What's Dante Moore capable of? Is this team legit to, is this a real contender in the Big Ten? And then, it's a Penn State team who returns everybody. And this is another one of those vengeance games from last year, another revenge game on your list from that Big Ten title game. And you got to feel like Penn State is just hungry for this one because this is still considered not. You had the records versus Michigan and Ohio State, but now in this new Big Ten, you can throw Oregon on top of that now too. So James Franklin, clear one of those hurdles, try to get Oregon at home.
All right, JP, go to the non-con for the next one.
Iowa State. If Iowa wants to be in the middle of the top end of this conference, have a shot to get to a playoff slot, you have to win this. It's that simple. It's also a big one for just the conference in general. If you want the middle of this conference to get respected, they have to beat non-con teams, and this is one of those opportunities.
And on the other side, just as big as an opportunity, again, if you're Iowa State.
We mentioned it a little bit in the Big 12 one, but maybe not as in-depth.
Go ahead, Jake. I know you got
No,
stuff, but I can hear that breathing
no, it's
intensify.
it is
That breathe.
no, it's
We
a ri-
mentioned the Cyhawk, and he started.
Yeah, he was thinking
it's
hard.
no. What you said how big it is for Iowa, and I agree. It's huge for Iowa State. It's a big rivalry game, but Iowa State's proven time and time again, like a loss to Iowa does not change the trajectory of what they're still in the Big 12. Like you could still, maybe they win that Kansas State game, and losing to Iowa is not going to get you out of the playoff. Losing the Big 12 is going to get you out of the playoff. So but yes, 100% still a huge game.
I'll keep Iowa in it. I'll go Oregon at Iowa. This one's late. It's November 8th. Bring the Ducks into Kinnick. Tough place to play if they're onto a hot streak, and maybe Iowa's even skidding that we've seen Iowa win games in blowout fashion against teams that are elite at that point in the season. So tough game, tough place to play. Oregon at Iowa, November 8th. Much watch TV to watch the Ducks go into an atmosphere like that. Jake, back to you.
This is a game. You consider it a rivalry game, one of your weird trophy games within the Big Ten.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it is. The Illy Buck. Is that what they call it? Okay. The Illy Buck Trophy hasn't been played since 2017, gentlemen. Ohio State's won the last 9. Like, if this is the year for Illinois, it's a big one. You get Ohio State coming to town. I believe I'd have to go back and look.
We might have to road trip that just for play the fight song trip. Champagne's an easy drive, fellas.
October 11th. I'll be in. I think that's the weekend I'm in.
Figured you would be. We'll go.
No, it's not. That's the week after.
Is it? No, it's not.
October 17th is the 11th? Week. October 17th is Minnesota, Nebraska. I know that for certain because it's a Friday. I think it's that weekend you're gone.
Then I'll be in Boulder, but I'd love to. You guys should go.
18.
No, you could still go. That's what he's saying. You see, this is what he does. People chirp at Jake. He always
this is the Illinois. The Illinois Ohio State game is October 11th. That is.
I get that. Weekend. Your trip's not until the 18th.
No, it's not. It's the 11th.
Some fact checking.
You made me second guess. It's the 11th. You're making me second guess it now.
Skip that. That's the Big 12. We're talking Big 10 football. I'm just kidding. All right, let's go to
America's conference.
JP, your next one and final.
My final one, I have Maryland, Wisconsin. If I'm being honest, for the conference itself, doesn't change a lot, but it does change things for these programs. You cannot be Luke Fickell losing to Maryland. Maryland, cannot just take things on the chin consistently and have a 0-win conference season. This is one of those you can go get. And I'm not trying to just do the top 5-6 teams and just rattle off all their games. I just think that this goes farther than you think it does, because this could be the end of Fickell. This could be the beginning of the end of Loxley. I think it has a lot more storylines to it than you make it out to be.
We do the Commonwealth Cup bet. What's the bet that both these two coaches will be coaching in this one by the end of it? What are the odds?
I think this one's early.
Probably not.
Oh, is it early?
Well,
Okay.
All right, I'll go to my last pick. Illinois at Indiana. It's early in the conference season. I feel like we have question marks around both teams for good reasons. I think that's where we're really going to get a good idea of, obviously who's better, but who's going to be better and who's realer in a national scale, who's more real in a national scale. So I think Illinois, Indiana, big one in Bloomington. All right, those are games to watch. Let's get to the point of tonight's episode and what everybody wants to hear, and that's our full prediction of the Big Ten Conference. We talked different narratives. We talked wild card teams. We talked teams in the bottom half. Jake named it, kind of pooped on the final 6 of this conference. So let's talk of who's going to win it, who's going to be the best. Let's start with Offensive Player of the Year. This is our Big Ten prediction for 2025. Jake, give us your Offensive Player of the Year in this conference. Or can we all do it in unison?
Yeah, I was going to say, is there even Jeremiah Smith? Is anybody else? Is anybody
all done in unison? I was going to do that. I was like, should I count down on tonight's show? I feel like we can all just give that answer. It feels terribly chalky. Obviously, there's guys quality that could win this, but with the player he is and the name he is and the marketability for the conference, you got to feel like it's him. So, all right, Offensive Player of the Year around the horn, Jeremiah Smith. Defensive Player of the Year. Give us somebody different, Jake.
I think Matayo Uyungala is probably my guy from Oregon, DJU's brother. I think he's a real game wrecker. I think he's really solid on the defensive line, and he's my pick. I think he'll be solid this year.
JP, I had Eric Gentry, linebacker at USC, missed 24 due to some injuries and some concussion issues. Put him back in this situation. Let a guy run free and make a lot of plays. That's what he did prior. Hopefully he does it here again. He's a tackling machine, so I think that's a guy to watch out for. If USC's defense takes a step up, this might be a reason why.
I'm going to go in terms of a coordinator hire, and Jim Knowles over at Penn State thought about players that he just recently coached, guys like Jack Sawyer. Let's go to the D line at Penn State and Zane Durant. If they're going to be as good as they're going to be, they have to stop the run, and they have a quality D line across the board. So you could honestly just pick one of the three, but I think Durant has the highest capability of just stopping everything up the middle, and he's going to be a hell of a player. So that is my pick for Defensive Player of the Year within the Big Ten Conference. I think he's going to make big plays late in games for the Nittany Lions. All right, conference title game. What everybody's wondering, who's going to make it? We'll get into who's going to win it, but tell us the two teams playing it. Go backwards. JP, you first.
Yeah, I said it'd be still the top of the conference doing this. I have Penn State, Ohio State playing.
It's that one's tough. Like, I thought about that, but like, remember last year, Penn State and Oregon played each other. Just, it's hard with these no divisions, man. Like, you can't necessarily pick the top two if they play each other, because Ohio State and Penn State obviously play each other. It's just a weird dynamic. I think that's what I had at Arizona State and Baylor last week or something. But that's just it's the logical pick, Jordan. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I think that's easy, but just them playing each other, it's super, super hard with these tiebreakers.
Jake, what's yours?
That being said, like, I thought about it, like, Oregon's going to play, or Penn State's going to play Oregon too. I would think it's Penn State and Ohio State. Ohio State beats Texas. You know, maybe they run the table, go undefeated, or if they lose to Penn State, and I don't know. Yeah, 12-0. Penn State plays 11-1 Ohio State, something of that nature. Because I think Penn State gets Oregon at home.
All right, I like that. There's something a little different. I went tiebreak. I try to avoid head-to-head matchups in the regular season as well. I'm just gonna throw Ohio State, Nebraska. That will be my conference title game this year. I mean it with my chest. I think Nebraska drops.
Did you really? You said that with a lot of confidence.
I just said it to try and avoid the clapback to hurt my feelings. Tell them I'm right, GA. Tell them I'm right. Ohio State, Nebraska, Big Ten title this year, and I think that includes a loss at Penn State, but it's not going to be enough tiebreaker-wise to keep them out. So Ohio State, Nebraska is my pick. All right.
It's a lot of red in Indianapolis.
Oh, that would be a lot. Both teams travel well, too. Conference champion, who's going to win it? I have Ohio State, just to be very clear
Ohio
here on
State.
where I'm at as a human being. Ohio State.
Yeah, I guess I have.
I thought he was trying to show his shirt there. I didn't know what's going on.
A little bit. It kind of turned out to be that way. I think I'm the highest on Julian Sayin out of this podcast group. I feel like I've gone to bat for him the most, and I think he's going to pick up right where, you know, Will Howard, CJ Stroud, those Ohio State offenses left off.
All right. So Ohio State across the board.
Yeah.
That's what the reigning
And
champ.
again, the Big Ten goes super chalk.
Yeah. Wait. Well, there's only a few conferences you can go crazy with. G5's also.
I don't know if that's
very
the
fun,
slide you think
a lot
it
of
is.
narratives, but like Big 12, when we're naming Arizona State, who got picked dead last to dominate the conference title last year, I don't think anybody had that on their bingo
Colorado
card
State
either.
Pueblo 3 years into the Big 12 would fight for it. That's how balanced it is.
We took a little offense to that. I'm not going to lie. We did clap back. We apologize, Jake. But let's go into hot takes. Maybe you have one of this. You've kind of been backhanded on the Big Ten the whole night. Do you have a hot take in the Big Ten Conference, Jake?
No, I mean, I just don't think the last 8 teams of the conference are as good as they think they are, I guess. That's not a hot take. It's just maybe a boring statement. I don't know. I'm kind of just sick of these Big Ten fan bases carrying the water for what the success of, you know, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon do. Did I miss something? You're showing a little grin there.
No, we have. I want to pull this up because we want to break this down. I'm trying to decipher this. Tim, give us a little more detail because I want to break down your comment. I really believe this year is Penn State's year, and if it's not their year this year, then it's not going to be. Like if you don't.
It just
feel
took
like
me a second to read it. I fumbled.
That
I
makes
think
sense.
he's
That makes
thinking
sense. Yeah.
If they don't do it this year, they're never going.
Yeah,
They're not
never
going
going to do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot
All right.
like Ohio State last year. Like a lot of these dudes could have went pro and they paid up,
Fair.
and a lot of them came back to run it back and do it. Honestly,
I just
I-
stumbled over my words reading it. That's why I was
Me
laughing.
too.
Like,
I reread it.
Yeah.
When I put it on the screen, I got it. But when I was reading it on the side, I was really felt like I was
having
having
it like
stroke,
straight
so.
across definitely helps.
That's our
out
bad,
there.
Tim. That's on us. But it's a fair point to make. I mean, the assets they have and the new
Yeah.
pieces all the other big brands have, it's not crazy to say at all. If it doesn't happen now, when will it? But all right, Jake, you gave your hot take. JP, you have a hot take?
I don't know if it's a hot take. It's just what I think what's going to happen. I think the Big Ten still gets 4 teams in the playoff, but I think it comes down to a head-to-head. Like between the 4 and 5, like possibility that these teams play each other and one beat the other, and that's all it takes to get one. You can get one in. I ran through a simulator today to pick all the games. Like 3 or 4 teams at 7-2 in the conference. I think it's just come down to so you got to win games against your conference foes to get in, and it's going to come down to one of these random ones in October on who gets in that 4th slot for the conference.
I like that. My hot take has a little bit to do with college football fans, and Indiana fans are going to disagree, but I feel like this is a great year for realization for college football fans that Cignetti's kind of an asshole. And I don't think he's going to be liked among any college football fans by the end of the year if he's in the national media more this year, which he probably will be, considering what Indiana did last year. But I just don't like the guy. He rubs me the wrong way. I don't like the way he speaks. And I think the world will realize that. So Indiana fans, it's going to piss you off. But maybe more people agree with me than I think. All right, let's go to over-unders to end the show. Who's going to do over or under first? You pick. JP, give us a team and whether or not you're taking their over-under. Set the tone.
I absolutely hate my over pick, but I couldn't find one without crazy juice on it, to be honest with you, that I wanted to play. So I took Penn State over 10.5. I think they only dropped one regular season game, but I don't love it, but I wasn't willing to pay 160, 175 for some of the overs I did like. So I went with plus money at plus 115. Sorry.
That's a good
All
one.
right. I like that one. Nebraska over 7.5. Next, Jake.
What's that juice?
I'm playing in the Big Ten title. It's not a crazy thing to say, right?
No, I'm just saying
Over
what's the
7.5.
juice on that?
So to your point, Jordan,
like
I was
minus
struggling to
10.
find. I was struggling to find an over under, or I was struggling to find an under that I liked because a lot of them were heavily juiced. I'm looking for odds here. I'm taking Nebraska under 7.5 at plus 114.
Yeah.
Matt Rule hasn't beaten a ranked team since his Temple days. Like, that's a real stat in the 1-score games thing. It's real. Like, if I'm looking for something to take here, I'm
the
not going to
one-score
take.
game things wasn't Matt Rule. Settle down. You're rolling their Frost thoughts into Rule. It has not been even half as drastic.
The Iowa game that was a real thing.
It's always a 1-score game. It doesn't matter who the coach is.
I'm just finishing games. That's the Illinois. Like, those are 1-score games. You guys
to it. That was a good play game. I didn't think.
I'm not saying it wasn't. You're getting my point here, and I'm looking for value. I'm not actually taking this one.
It's
on the
Iowa
table.
State's under. Fuck this.
7.5.
Under. Rocco break his leg first play of the season.
It's 7.5
Sorry.
as well. Actually,
I don't like
Everybody
it.
7.5 in this, I think.
yeah.
All right, let's go unders. JP, you first.
UCLA under 5.5.
Ooh.
I know this is minus 150.
Yeah. See,
I
that's
think
like
there's more here to squeeze out than what happened last year. I think they got beating Iowa at home is a situation that helps them out a ton, but I am just not convinced in a lot of spots that they are ready to go.
Wow. Okay. Jake, you're under.
Nebraska was my under, so my over.
Oh, sorry, you're over. Yeah, you went back.
I actually ran this one to the table. I got over 7.5 for Washington this year. I believe it's 7.5. I hope 6.5 would be amazing. But yeah, I got plus 110. I think over 7.5 with Washington. I love their schedule. They get Ohio State early to go across country over on the lake. So that's my pick.
All right, I'll try and not to end it on a negative note. I'll kind of keep it light, but Indiana under 8.5. I saw 8.5 from an undisclosed book. You guys
They're going to be
the same
smoking
number?
cigarettes with your face on the filter, bud.
They probably will be, but under 8.5. I think the schedule presents way too many challenges compared to what we saw last year when they got into those spots, and so I think, especially the road challenges, they do not. They do not come to Lincoln. We have a terribly bad habit of going to just getting blasted by teams that we do not get a chance to host them the year following.
The next year.
Yeah.
I'd like to have UCLA and Kinnick this year, but
yeah. But we do have UCLA. We on the road, but we do
I
get to
do bring
return
Michigan State
USC.
in.
Our home and home
That's-
was USC that we get back this year.
Hmm.
But
good
all
one.
right, that's my pick.
I-
Under Indiana, 8.5. Let us know in the comments what you think overall about the Big Ten, your predictions, anything we missed. We covered as much as we could. We went a little long. We appreciate all the new comments. GA, shout out for the super chat. You are the man. Jay Bird, good to have you back. Come next week. We got the SEC preview. Let's talk what
One
everybody
more.
wants to talk about. We got one more, and we previewed every conference in college football. That's what we do here. We love you. We'll see you next time. Shop No Rivals. Shop Frost Buddy. Use /PTFS when you go to the website. Please do. We love you. We'll see you next time. Jake, take it away.
Play it.